one Musculo was reading Wordsworth. He remembered somebody telling him in Spain about the Indian scripture, because a lot of the Spanish poets have taken from the Indian scripture. Somebody they had an access, and somehow, they are famous, very famous poets, they have taken from the Indian scriptures. And so they had an access to it during the time of, I think, Akbar the Great was the king. So, it is at the Upanishads, they are of course, he has translated about 12, they are 108. She got all the list of that from the website yesterday. Of course, we cannot go through all those things, but we can go at least some 12 Upanishads. And 12 weeks, I want to teach 12 Upanishads. And they are called the, Himalayas of the soul. And you see, they reverberate in the New Testament, and it's just is, I and my God are one. I and my Father are one, okay. And the kingdom of God is within you. This is what comes from that, So it is from generally Katha Upanishad which I started, because it's a beautiful story of a boy who becomes he asks a very profound question to the God of death. You cannot stand before God of death. He will run away, you see, but he will not leave you. He will drag you back, Yeah. So that's see, this is what the one of the poets, George Guillen is called, that's a Spanish poet, from the joy of being, he wrote it in that. So what he says is, to be, how simple it is to be, no more. This is all. This is the joy supreme. To be, no more. See how it is? This is all. This is the joy supreme. Nothing else. He has written from that, in many ways. And glimpses of that, Wordsworth, as I told you, our noisy ears seem moments in the being of the eternal silence. Wordsworth. That's an exact thing, Katha Upanishad, So I want you to see those things. So you will learn nothing is new under the sun. Okay. Everything comes from the ancient scriptures. Whatever they are Sanskrit or whatever they are. But everybody has access to it. And mostly, who made the best use of it is the Rhineland mystics. Germany, okay, Rhineland mystics. See, they made the great use of all those things. See, so let us begin. You remember what I said last time? What I said is a story, it's a very simple story. There is a king called Vajasravas, right? He gave away all his possessions as sacrifice, but it was out of desire for heaven. He had a motivation. He wanted to have heaven, and he gave away all his wealth. What he gave away? The cattle. Okay, mostly the cattle, not his gold and silver and all those things. The earth is called Vasundhara in Sanskrit. That means who holds all the wealth. In the earth, it comes, you should just remember that. It holds all the wealth. Gold comes from that, diamond comes from that, right? Silver, copper and brass, all the elements what they call, comes from the earth. And science has not produced any synthetic of those things, which comes from the earth. That comes from the earth. So earth is the greatest treasure holder of the created universe and the uncreated universe also. It holds all those things. See. So, he gave away all those things. The cattle. He had a son called Nachiketa, who, although he was only a boy, 12 years old, had a vision of faith. He had a vision of faith. That's the vision of God. Vision of faith is the vision of God. When the offering were given, and thus he thought, he thinks, ponders over it. Okay. This poor offering of cows that are too old to give milk and too weak to eat grass or drink water must lead to a world of sorrow to the one who gives. So this 12-year-old boy felt that, and he thought of offering himself. He said, let me offer myself. At least he will have some merit, giving his son, So, and offering himself, and said to his father, Father, to whom will you give me? He asked the question. During the sacrifice itself, he asked that question. He asked once, because I am also your property, that's what he said. So he asked once and twice and three times, and then his father answered in anger, I will give you to death. He said, okay. And this is the father's thing, so he has to obey the father. He has to go. Nachiketa at the head of many, I go, and I go in the midst of many. What may be the work of death that today must be done through me? So there must be a meaning to it, this. So when my father said in anger that, there must be some purpose in it. And the death has something to do with it, through me. See, he has that enthusiasm and the hope, and he was energized, to say that to the God of death. He goes to God of death. Remember how the men of old passed away, and how those of days to come will also pass away, all those will pass away. A mortal ripens like corn, and like corn is born again. See? And Nachiketa had to wait 3 nights, and 3 without food, in the abode of Yama, the god of death. Without food, waited for 3 days, okay. A voice says to Yama, the god of death, at the spirit of the fire, a Brahmin comes to your house. At the spirit of a fire, the Brahmin comes to your house. Bring the offering of water, O god of death. That's that, when the guest comes, and the Brahmin guest is considered to be the spirit of fire, So it's not a joke. See, don't take lightly about this Brahmin, okay? Spirit of fire, you must know that. Okay? O god of death. Then, how unwise is the man who does not give hospitality to a Brahmin? He loses his future hopes, his past merits, his present positions, his sons, and all this he will lose if you don't entertain. Just, not to give him a lot of things he doesn't need, some food, some water, that's what it is, water, nothing else. That's what it is. Death. Since you have come as a sacred guest, he came after 3 days, he comes, Yama comes, and he says, since you have come as a sacred guest to my abode, and you have had no hospitality for 3 nights, choose then 3 boons. So I am very sorry for all those things. He touched his feet, washed his feet, and said, choose 3 boons. He will want to give 3 boons. And Nachiketa. See how intelligent Nachiketa was at the age of 12? Now people at the age of 12, they go into drugs and all those things. But he was very intelligent at the age of 12. My father's anger be appeased. That's you asked, first boon. My father's anger be appeased, and may the wise man choose the path of joy, and he remember me and welcome me when I return to him. Let this be my first boon. Recognize. Otherwise, when you go out of death, how can anybody recognize you? Yeah. So you see how first the boon is, my father's anger be appeased, and may he remember me and welcome me when I return to him. Let this be my first boon. See the implication of that? That means he would definitely want to return. He doesn't want to die. See? He definitely wants, he caught that emotion that in one boon, see? So, a 12-year-old boy. Then Yama says, by my power, your father will remember you and love you as before. And when he sees you free from the jaws of death, sweet will be his sleep at night. It's all poetry, actually. It is written as not just poetry, and great poetry. That's the imagination and faith. That's to say, if you don't have faith, you don't have imagination. And if you have imagination, if you don't have faith, that imagination has no meaning. See? You must have faith, and that's imagination in God. That's all the poets you see, Wordsworth, Shelley, and Shakespeare and all those, they have the greatest, that intuition coming from faith in oneself. Faith in the divine that resides in oneself. So that comes, that's the faith. And from that faith comes imagination, and they wrote beautiful things. See how beautiful implication that has, to be or not to be. It has great implication, I tell you. It is from the Vedas. Again it comes from the Vedas, scriptures. How they got it, you don't know how they got it, but it comes from that. Okay. So he gave him the boon. There is, then Nachiketa says, he got the boon. Nachiketa says, there is no fear in heaven. Old age and death are not there. The good beyond both rejoice in heaven. Good beyond both, good and bad, Rejoice in heaven. Beyond hunger and thirst and sorrow. All those things are not there in heaven. And those in heaven attain immortality. O death, the sacred fire which leads to heaven, explain it to me, since I have faith, be this my second boon. So explain to me that sacred fire we did in the consecration day. It has got a great meaning, I tell you. Those people who are ignorant will not know what it is. But those who are attentive and put their heart into it, they knew what it was. That's what there's a shock on the tree. That's a great fire sacrifice, And it's a great thing. Yeah. Okay. Death says, I know, Nachiketa. That sacred fire which leads to heaven. Listen, that fire which is the means of attaining the infinite worlds and is also their foundation, is hidden in the sacred place of the heart. See, this is symbolic, okay, what you do is symbolic, but it is in the heart. You get heartburns when you eat wrong food, you know that? Yeah? You eat wrong food, you get heartburns. You see, yesterday I got some food, you see that you go to the Indian store, American Indian, you see nice, that fried bread, it's very nice. And they put chilies and give you and eat at night, you have heart. Then you say, why did I eat? You repent after that, why did I eat that? I could have anything. That's what happened. Ignorance. Okay. Ignorance of oneself, it is not ignorance of food, it is ignorance of oneself. When you are not in touch with us, when you don't know what you are, who you are, and that happens. You see that's the attraction, enchantment, that's a temptation. You want to eat something, you see somewhere, oh, that's a good thing that I saw in, what is that, here. You don't have Brahms here, So, Hagindas. You see in Hagindas, and then it does something. Yeah, then you repent. Pleasure you eat, and pleasure brings you sorrow. Yeah. So, hidden in the sacred place of the heart. And Death told him of the fire of creation. This was the Brahman is the sacrifice. That Brahman is this cross. See, that's in Bhagavad Gita. So, that's the same thing. Told him of the fire of creation, the beginning of the worlds, and of the altar of the fire sacrifice, or how many bricks it should be built, and how they should be placed. Nachiketas repeated the teaching. Death was pleased and went on. Now you see that. We are not used bricks, right? Richard knows. We are not used bricks. But I use rose. Rose of creation, you must know that. No, not rose, the lotus. Lotus of creation. Lotus is a symbol of creation, in which Brahma created the whole universe, So there is a lotus, That is the highest sacrificial symbol. Okay. You don't know all the complications, The knower knows, but he is not.
He's not telling.
He is not interested. Okay. And a further boon I give you today. See, you want a bonus boon, he gives him a bonus boon.
Bonus boon.
This fire of sacrifice shall be known by your name. Take also from me their chain of many forms. The chain of many forms, One who lights 3 times this sacred fire. That's what they do in the Orthodox Indian families. They do it, One who lights 3 times this sacred fire and attains union with the three and performs that's the Trinity, and performs the three holy actions, passes beyond life and death. For then he knows the God of fire, the God who knows all things, and through knowledge and adoration he attains the peace supreme. It's the Jewish, you have it, the Jewish, the sacrifice, the fire sacrifice in Judaism. It is there. See, it is there. I tell you. Yeah. It is fire that leads to heaven, which he chose. See, when you burn the body, even there's something is left, you go through the fires, rising fire, you go to heaven. That's why they burn the body. It's not just, some puny ideas. No, that's not true, This is the fire that leads to heaven, which he chose, as the second gift. Men will call it the fire sacrifice of Nachiketa. Choose now the third boon. Yes, the third one. Then here is a trick, with Nachiketa, 12-year-old boy. He was well versed in the scriptures and everything, like Sandy, well versed in health matters, he was well versed in, like Lynn, well versed in food matters, all matters, food matters, health matters, all those things. So he was, he wanted to know more, so he did. Yeah. When a man dies, this doubt arises. Some say he is, and some say he is not. Teach me the truth. See? And maybe even the God of death may not know the truth. You see, you ask him that question, how profound it is, huh? Otherwise he didn't ask him, give him some chocolate, chips and all. He didn't ask those things, but very profound question. You could ask anything from him, I see. No. Yeah. The eternal question, that's what it is. Teach me the truth. What is this death? Then God, Yama says, when the gods had this doubt in times of old, even gods had this doubt in times of old, for mysterious is the law of life and death, ask for another boon, release me from this. Nachiketa. This doubt indeed arose even to the gods, and you say, O death, that it is difficult to understand. But no greater teacher than you can explain it, and there is no other boon so great as this. See, how you caught him? Because he is God of death. He must know that, So he said, nobody can explain to me like as you, the God of death. See? And there is no other boon so great as this. Then Yama says, take horses and gold and cattle and elephants. Choose sons and grandsons that shall live 100 years. Have vast expanse of land and live as many years as you desire. Ask him, you ask this boon. He dictates to me, ask this boon. He's trying to. Or choose another gift that you think equal to this and enjoy it with wealth and long life. Be a ruler of this vast earth. I will grant you all your desires. Ask for my wishes. In the world of mortals, however hard to obtain, to attend on you, I will give you fair maidens with chariots and musical instruments, but ask me not, Nachiketa, the secret of death. No. Nachiketa says, all these pleasures pass away. See how wise he was at the age of 12? All these pleasures pass away. Oh, end of all is the end of all. Death is the end of all. See, all these pleasures is the end of all. They weaken the power of life. And indeed, how short is all life. Keep thy horses and dancing and singing to yourself. Yeah. Man cannot be satisfied with wealth. Shall we enjoy wealth with you in sight? Death in sight. Cannot enjoy wealth, you see. Yeah. In sight. Shall you live while you are in power? When the death is in power, shall you live? We cannot live. I can only ask for the boon I have asked. Nothing else. The secret of it. When a mortal here on earth has felt his own immortality, could he wish for a long life of pleasure, for the lust of deceitful beauty? Solve then the doubt as to the great beyond. Grant me the gift that unveils the mystery. This is the only gift Nachiketa can ask. So, this I finished last week I said this, right?
Yeah.
Now we start the second. Okay. Because I wanted you remember this. It's a beautiful thing. You remember this. And this was if they had used all those things, the Enron Corporation in teaching them, corporate counseling, they would not have gone wrong. Now part two, in the death. There is so many things are there in English language. There are because they are all translated in English language, German language, all languages, mostly all languages. Then death. There is the path of joy and there is the path of pleasure. See how it is. The good and bad they say, path of good and path of, they don't say that. But he says there is the path of joy, pleasure, see, there is the path of pleasure and there is path of joy. See. Both attract the soul. Pleasure and joy. Both attract the soul. Who follows the first comes to good. That means who follows joy comes to good. Who follows pleasure reaches not the end. See that because you will not reach the end, because pleasure you will go on multiplying, it will never end. So you will not be end. The two paths lie in the front of man. You see in the front. When you open the door in the morning, it is there in the front, lying there, at your door. See? Yeah. You open the door to go to office or whatever you want to do, whatever nefarious activities or whatever you want to do. It is there. It is there, lying there. The two paths lie in front of man. Pondering on them, the wise man chooses the path of joy. The fool takes the path of pleasure. You have pondered, Nachiketa, on pleasure and you have rejected them. He has rejected all the pleasures. He offered you all the pleasure. You have not accepted that chain of possessions wherewith men bind themselves and beneath which they sink. Possession, that's what. I possess this, I possess that. I possess my wife. I say. That's a terrible thought. You don't possess anything. Only if you want joy, follow the path of joy. And that is the highest path. You must know that joy. Everything this says in another Upanishad says, this creation has come out of joy. And is sustained by joy, it returns to joy. See? In another Upanishad, will come later on, it says, I am just giving you all the little taste of it, so that you will get more attracted to it. There is a path of joy, I tell you. Yeah. There is the path of wisdom and the path of ignorance. See? Yeah. They are far apart and lead to different ends. You are, Nachiketa, a follower of the path of wisdom. Many pleasures tempt you not. Pleasures will not tempt you, they follow wisdom. What lies beyond life shines not to those who are childish or careless or deluded by wealth. This is the only world, there is no other, they say. And thus they go from death to death. See, he doesn't say death to birth to death, no, death to death. See, Maranat Maranam, see. Not many hear of him, and of those, not many reach him. That hear of him means that your own self, that's the inner Atman. That's why he said, my Father, I and my Father are one. Kingdom of God is within you. That's what Christ said, Jesus said. That is the same thing it is, Yeah. So he cannot be taught by one who has not reached him. See? How they say, and to those not many reach him. Wonderful is he who can teach about him, and wise is he who can be taught. See? Wonderful is he who can teach, and wise is he who can be taught. Wonderful is he who knows him when taught. You see. So you have heard a lot of things. And I hope in my smallness and pettiness and all those things I taught you so many things. For how many 20 years like that. I would have gone to heaven in 20. And prefer to be here, Yeah. Third. He cannot be taught by one who has not reached him, and he cannot be reached by much thinking. The way to him is through a teacher who has seen him. He is higher than the highest thoughts, in truth above all thought. This sacred knowledge is not attained by reasoning, but it can be given by a true teacher. As your purpose is steady, you have found him. May I find another people like you? Even God of death asks, any people like you? May I find the world, Yeah. I know that treasures pass away, and that the eternal is not reached by the transient. I have thus laid the fire of sacrifice of Nachiketa, and by burning in it, see, the transient I have reached the eternal. That's what Yama had done. That's what he says. I'm burning with this fire, I reach the eternal. Before your eyes have been spread, Nachiketa, the fulfillment of all desire, dominion of the world, the eternal reward of ritual, the shore where there is no fear, the greatness of fame and boundless space, with strength and wisdom you have renounced all of them. See? Only a wise man can do it, no, not any other man. When the wise rest his mind in contemplation on our God beyond time, who invisibly dwells in the mystery of things and in the heart of man, then he rises above pleasure and sorrow. This is in Isaiah, okay? This is in Isaiah also. Yeah. When a man has heard and has understood, and finding the essence, reaches the inmost, then he finds joy in the source of joy. Nachiketa is a house open for thy Atman, thy God. He is open, My heart is open, that's what it says in the poem, here. I wrote a song, I tell you. It says here, my heart will open, and open in earnest, to contain the fury of creation and the joy of elation. See, the fury, containing the fury of creation and the joy of elation, true to every revelation, without separation. See, yeah, it comes, the imagination comes like that. If you establish yourself in God. Yeah. So, when a man has heard and thus understood, and finding the essence reaches the inmost, then he finds joy in the source of joy. See, that you are the source of joy, you must know that. If the source of joy is not somewhere outside you, it's inside you. Nachiketa is a house open for thy Atman, thy God. And Nachiketa, tell me what you see beyond right and wrong. He asked Nachiketa again asked the question. Tell me what you see beyond right and wrong, beyond what is done or not done, beyond past and future, death. I will tell you the word that all the Vedas glorify. It's the word of God. See, that's the same thing, glorify. All self-sacrifice expresses, all sacred studies and holy life seeks. That word is Om. And Om it has got a spiritual meaning and a religious meaning and all sorts of creation meaning and everything. It has also scientific meaning. The O, Ma. It produces the three chemicals in the brain. What are those chemicals,
Endorphins.
Endorphin.
And
Serotonin.
And
And
dopamine. Dopamine, yeah.
Yeah, you listen to it, yeah. You can learn a lot of things. You scratch your brain, it comes. When you scratch your brain, what it produces? You scratch here, what it produces?
It endorphins.
See? Endorphin.
Yeah, endorphins.
Yeah. If you sometimes you feel a very bad headache or something, then what produces? Serotonin.
What produces dopamine?
Right.
So
Then when something very bad happens, you go like this. What it produces?
that's dopamine.
Dopamine.
I'm a dopamine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Feels
Yeah. It is. When you have headache, you go like this, right? What
That's
produces?
endorphins.
Dopamine.
Dopamine. Oh,
Just-
that's right.
So,
Dopamine.
yeah. Okay. Okay. That word is the everlasting word. Now say Om, okay. That word is always in capital of the word, that's the word of God, okay. That word is the everlasting Brahman. There is no difference between the creator and the Om. That word is the highest end. When that sacred word is known, all longings are fulfilled. See. Suppose you see in the Ganges Bank in India, in Rishikesh, he had gone. Rishikesh, on the Ganges Bank, a lot of people sit there and go on saying, oh, that will not be very good, It should be, it should, actually, it should curb the heart. It's om that comes like. Otherwise sitting there, om, and you open the eye and see who is going, passing, putting some money in your hand. That is. It's always, therefore when I say the three om, we do it in a very nice way. It has to come from here. Oh, it goes brain, goes beyond. Yeah. So, supreme means of so, Brahman. That word is the highest end. When that sacred word is known, all longings are fulfilled. Even the longing for God, it is fulfilled. It is the supreme means of salvation. It is the help supreme. When that great word is known, one is great in the heaven of Brahman. See, great in the heaven of Brahman. You become great in the heaven of Brahman. Not not one invades or alien. He will not be alien. Yeah. Atman, the spirit of vision. Atman means the spirit. See, Atman, that's the Jivatma recall. It is the spirit of vision, see. Atman, the spirit of vision, is never born and never dies. Okay. Before him there was nothing, and he is one forevermore. Never born and eternal, beyond times gone or to come. He does not die when the body dies. See, it's a very clear statement. And scientifically they have proved when something that they don't know pinpoint what it is, but something leaves the body and the body is dead. And there's something doesn't die, it is somewhere in the ether, that's what they say, but what they don't know pinpoint what it is. That's so, that's the breath of life, they call it, whatever it is, okay. The spirit of vision, okay. Yeah, he does not die and the body dies. If the slayer thinks that he kills, and if the slain thinks that he dies, neither knows the ways of truth. See, the eternal is in man cannot kill. The eternal in man cannot die. See how beautiful it is? It cannot kill, it cannot die. See? It is the finite that kills, that dies, not the eternal, never dies. See? Concealed in the heart of all beings is the Atman. And they have great vision, you see, I tell you, that's what the spirit of vision, Concealed in the heart of all beings is the Atman, the spirit, the self, smaller than the smallest atom, greater than the vast space. The man who surrenders his human will leaves sorrows behind. Surrenders his human will. See, that's what the Bible, right? But thy will be done. See, that's what it is. So you have to surrender. To thy will be done, you have to surrender. See, the man who surrenders his human will leaves sorrow behind and beholds the glory of the Atman by the grace of the Creator. reacting, resting, he wanders. See how beautiful this is. This is very paradoxical, How can you wander when you rest? See, he says, resting, he wanders afar. Sleeping, he goes everywhere. So, who else but myself can know that God of joy and of sorrow? Only myself can know. So you see, when you sleep, sometimes you'll be going in Scotland or England in a dream, but you are still in the bed. So who has gone? Who has seen all those things? So you travel. In sleep you travel. You dream, you travel, right? We call it dream, but you travel in sleep. See, resting he wanders afar, sleeping he goes everywhere. Who else but myself can know that God of joy and of sorrow? Only I can know that. When the wise realize the omnipresent Spirit, who rests invisible in the visible and permanent in the impermanent, then they go beyond sorrow. Now we'll take one more. What is the time? I must finish it. Oh, there is time. Not through much learning is the Atman reached, not through the intellect and sacred teachings. It is reached by the chosen of Him that chooses, because they choose Him. To His chosen, the Atman reveals His glory. Not even through deep knowledge can the Atman be reached, unless evil ways are abandoned. All the evil ways may be abandoned. And there is rest in the senses. There is rest in the senses. The senses will rest, They should not, otherwise they discombobulate, you see. Concentration in the mind and peace in one's heart. See, concentration in the mind. See how it is? Rest in the senses, concentration in the mind, and peace in one's heart. Peace in the heart. Who knows in truth where he is? The majesty of his power carries away priests and warriors, and death itself is carried away. Death itself is carried away. Yeah. So, you want to learn more? No more?
No.
Yeah, he's prepared. He has prepared to come. Okay, we'll finish it. In the sacred high place of the heart, there are two beings. In the sacred high place of the heart, because high place means the highest point of the heart, not the muscle, okay, but the heart itself. In the sacred high place of the heart, there are two beings who drink the wine of life. That's a sacrament, okay? That's what in the Bible, okay? Sacrament is that. Who drink the wine of life in the world of truth. See, the sacrament is the wine of life in the world of truth. So, when you take the sacrament, you live in the world of truth, then not falsehood. That's so important, life in the world of truth. Those who know Brahman, those who keep the 5 sacred fires, the Panchagni, I explained sometimes, Panchagni, 5 sacred fires, and those who light the threefold fire of Nachiketa, call them light and shade. Light and shade is very important in life. May we light the sacred fire of Nachiketa, the bridge to cross to the other shore where there is no fear, the supreme everlasting spirit. Know the Atman is Lord of a chariot. You see, the Atman is as a Lord of a chariot, okay? And the body as the chariot itself. Know that reason is the charioteer and the mind indeed is the reins. See how beautifully it is said. Now the reason is the charioteer. See, is the Lord, Atman is Lord of chariot, and the body as the chariot itself. Know that reason is the charioteer, and the mind indeed is the reins. See, the horses, they say, are the senses. See, they very beautifully say, horses, they say. He doesn't take the responsibilities. See, they say, who? No, God only knows. Okay. The horses, they say, are the senses, and the paths are the objects of sense. That path, the object of sense. When the soul becomes one with the mind, see, this is how beautiful it is. When the soul becomes one with the mind and the sense and the senses, soul becomes one with the mind and senses. He is called one who has joys and sorrows. If they become one with the senses. He who has not right understanding and whose mind is never steady is not the ruler of his life, like a bad driver with wild horses. Right? See? He who has not right understanding and whose mind is never steady is not the ruler of his life, like a bad driver with wild horses. But he who has right understanding and whose mind is ever steady is the ruler of his life, like a good driver with well-trained horses. He who has not right understanding is careless and never pure, reaches not the end of the journey, but wanders on from death to death. What is the end of the journey? The God is the end of the journey, whatever that is, the Supreme Power, that's the end of the journey. That means you just begin the journey there, in the divine. You begin your journey in the divine. So, but that's the end of this journey, wandering, in wilderness, and from death to death. But he who has understanding, is careful and ever pure, reaches the end of the journey from which he never returns. He stays in the divine. That is the fear all the people have. So if you do all those things, I'll be dead and gone and not come here and enjoy these beautiful things. That's what the fear is. Losing the things you have. That's the fear. It's not a fear of death. Losing the things, your possessions, things. That's the fear. The man whose chariot is driven by reason, who watches and holds the reins of the mind, reaches the end of the journey, the supreme, everlasting spirit. That's the end of the journey. Supreme. You live in that spirit. Beyond the senses are the objects, right? And beyond the objects is the mind. Beyond the mind is pure reason, and beyond reason is the spirit in man. Beyond the spirit in man is the spirit of the universe. So universe is considered to be one of the spirit, So beyond the spirit in man is the spirit of the universe, and beyond is Purusha, the spirit supreme. That's the supreme spirit. Nothing is beyond Purusha. He is the end of the path. See, it ends with him. That you meet your destiny there, you see. The tryst to destiny. Okay. The light of the Atman, the spirit, is invisible. See, the spirit is the light of the Atman, see, is invisible. Concealed in all beings. It is sent by the seers, it is seen by the seers of the subtle when their vision is keen and is clear. Therefore, you ask me the question, when you go into this shamanism, you lose eyesight. Okay, that's what happens, because the eyes are not clear. The wise should surrender speech in mind. See, this is a very important thing. I can explain many times this one. The wise should surrender speech in mind in the knowing self in the spirit of the universe, and the spirit of the universe in the spirit of peace. Peace, see, in the spirit of peace. Awake, arise. Uttishta Jagrata, that's a very beautiful saying in there. Awake, arise. Strive for the highest and be in the light. Sages say the path is narrow and difficult to tread, narrow as the edge of a razor. The Atman is beyond sound and form, without touch and taste and perfume. It is eternal, unchangeable, and without beginning or end. Indeed, above reasoning, when consciousness of the Atman manifests itself, man becomes free from jaws of death. See? The wise who can learn and can teach this ancient story of Nachiketa, taught by Yama, the god of death, finds glory in the world of in the Brahman. He who, filled with devotion, recites the supreme mystery at the gathering of, any gathering, or at the ceremony of this Shraddha, that means you offering to the dead ones, departed, for the departed, prepares for eternity. He prepares in truth for eternity. Now the fourth part. The Creator made the senses outward going. See how I has made it outward going. But the Creator, it is not your part. The Creator made the senses outward going. They go to the world of matter outside, not to the spirit within. Because you are supposed to be the spirit, therefore it's outward going. You are supposed to be. But a sage who sought immortality looked within himself and found his own soul. The foolish run after outward pleasures and fall into the snares of vast, embracing death, but the wise have found immortality and do not seek the eternal in things that pass away. See? This by which we pursue colors and sounds, perfumes and kisses of love, by which alone we attain knowledge, by which verily we can't be conscious of anything. This is truth is that. This truth is that. The word that is this truth is that. When the wise knows that it is through the great and omnipresent Spirit in us that we are conscious, we are conscious because of Spirit, In waking or in dreaming, then it goes beyond sorrow. Dream and everything, it is the omnipresent Spirit in us, that. So you don't attribute the doership or arrogate the power yourself. It is in the Atman. Okay. When he knows the Atman, the self, the inner life, who enjoys like a bee the sweetness of the flowers of the senses, the Lord of what was and of what will be, then he goes beyond fear. This truth is that. The God of creation, who in the beginning was born from the fire of thought before the waters were, all of thought. That's the universal thought. It existed, The God of creation, who in the beginning was born from the fire of thought. See, that's the mind born, he was fire of thought, before the waters were. We appear in the elements and rest. He rests in all the elements, having entered the heart. This in truth is that. The goddess of infinity. You see, it's always in all languages, infinity is a feminine gender. Okay, in all languages. See, the goddess of infinity, who comes as life, power, and nature, who was born from the elements and rest, having entered the heart. This in truth is that. Agni, the all-knowing God of fire, hidden in the two frictions, fire sticks, fire sticks, they're called, they rub it and the fire comes, of the holy sacrifice, as the seed of life in the womb of mother. As the seed of life in the womb of a mother, who receives the morning adoration of those who follow the path of light or the path of work. Work is very important, Yeah. This in truth is that. Hence the rising sun does come, and into which it sets again, wherein all the gods have their birth, and beyond which no man can go. This in truth is that. See, what is here is also there, and what is there is also here. It is there in English also, right? Somebody has written it. Some poet, yeah. Who sees the many and not the one, wanders on from death to death. Who sees the many and not the one. Even by the mind this truth is to be learned. There are not many but only one, who sees variety and not the unity, wanders on from death to death. We have seen unity in everything. The soul dwells within us, a flame the size of a thumb. This is true, they have photographed this, the soul. See, the soul dwells within us, a flame the size of a thumb. It's like a flame. Thumb. When it is known as the Lord of the past and the future, then ceases all fear. This in truth is that. Like a flame without smoke, the size of a thumb is the soul. The Lord of the past and the future, the same both today and tomorrow. That's the soul. The size of a thumb and the upper part of the heart. Yeah. And this, in truth, is that. As water raining on a mountain ridge runs down the rocks on all sides, so the man who only sees variety of things runs after them on all sides. See, but as pure water raining on pure water, see, becomes one and the same, so becomes O Nachiketa, the soul of the faith, who knows. The water falling on water becomes one with water. See? Yeah. And we'll finish it in 2 pages or there. So then I'll give my lecture next time. Yeah, and bore you many times I can bore you. Yeah. Make you sore. Yeah. The pure eternal spirit dwells in the castle of 11 gates of the body. The pure eternal spirit dwells in the castle, and not in the castle in Scotland, the castle of 11 gates of the body. By ruling this castle, man is free from sorrow and free from all bondage, attains liberation. By ruling this castle, should rule this castle, In space, he is the sun. In space, he is the sun. And he is the wind, and he is the wind and the sky. And the altar, he is the priest. At the altar, he is the priest. And the soma, wine in the jar, that's a sacrificial thing, that's it. But it comes from actually this sacrificial wine, it comes from the ancient time, in jar. He dwells in men and in God, in righteousness and in the vast heavens. He is in the earth and the waters, and in the rocks of the mountains. He is truth and power. The powers of life adore that God who is in the heart, and he rules the breath of life, breathing in and breathing out. When the ties that bind the spirit to the body are unloosened and the spirit is set free, what remains then? Gone. This in truth is that. A mortal lives not through that breath that flows in and out. The source of his life is another, and this causes the breath to flow, the source of life. That's another thing. I will now speak to you of the mystery of the eternal Brahman and of what happens to the soul after death. So he explains to him, The soul may go to the womb of a mother and thus obtain a new body. It even may go into trees or plants according to its previous wisdom and work. They don't say on karma here, wisdom and work. There is a spirit who is awake in our sleep and creates the wonderful dreams. He is Brahma, the spirit of light, who in truth is called the immortal. All the world rests on that spirit, and beyond him no one can go. This in truth is that. A fire, though one, takes new forms in all things that burn. The spirit, though one, takes new forms in all things that live. He is within all and is also outside. As the wind, though one, takes new forms in whatever it enters. The spirit, though one, takes new forms in all things that live. He is within all and is also outside. As the sun that beholds the world is untouched by earthly impurities, so the spirit that is in all things is untouched by eternal suffering. It is not. It is untouched. There is one ruler, the spirit that is in all things, who transforms his own form into many. Only the wise who see him in their soul attain the joy eternal. He is the eternal among things that pass away, pure consciousness of conscious beings, the one who fulfills the prayers of many. Only the wise who see him in their soul attain the peace eternal. Our prayers will not be answered because it is not coming from the soul. See, this is that. Thus they realize the ineffable joy supreme. How can this be known? Does he give light or does he reflect light? It does. See, there is the sun shines not there. The sun shines not, nor the moon, nor the stars. Lightning shines not there, and much less earthly fire. From his light, all these give light, and his radiance illumines all creation. This is Bible also. The tree of eternity has its roots in heaven above, and its branches reach down to earth. It is Brahman, pure spirit, who is truth, is called the immortal. All the worlds rest on the spirit, and beyond him no one can go. This in truth is he, is that. The whole universe comes from him, and his life burns through the whole universe.